It says here that baseball has been postponed until mid-April. And it says over here that the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland is closed indefinitely. My God. What the hell am I going to do now? Let's ask Black Bart the pirate. Man, fuck that guy. Let's ask Blackbeard. Make a drink? I concur. Good evening, esteemed ladies and gentlemen of the bar. Welcome to this week's episode of Before the Mast, a show where we explore alcoholic appetizers, both classic and innovative, while discussing sea stories and art, and how sea stories can inspire art, and how art can turn a good sea story. I am Aaron Burks, aka Boats, your pilot through the treacherous harbor that is my typical evening. Tonight, we're going to check out a stormy concoction I developed myself called the Typhoon Sortie. It's like a hurricane, but in the Pacific. Then I'll tell you the story of my first Typhoon Sortie in March of 2007. But first, hit like and subscribe. It helps me out to my ultimate goal of getting ass. Let's head on over to the Laka Laka Lounge. Welcome. Let's get the liquor. You're going to need light rum, dark rum, gold rum, blue curaçao, and for the rest you will need passion fruit syrup, orange juice, lime juice, and a cocktail cherry. Oh, and Demerara Syrup. The recipe for Demerara Syrup will be down in the description. I see a storm cloud. Recall the crew. It's time to sortie. Let's start with 2 ounces of light rum, one ounce of gold rum, 2 ounces of blue curaçao, 1 ounce of lime juice, 2 ounces of passion fruit syrup, two ounces of orange juice. If you can, fresh is always better. And finally, 1 ounce of Demerara syrup. And now shake it on ice for about 30 seconds. Now you're going to strain it into your ice-filled Collins glass. Leave a little room at the top. You're going to need that for the clouds. Take your dark rum and put a nice cloudy layer over the top. Try to get it into your glass. It works better that way. For a garnish, cut some of that orange peel that you just mashed up. Gonna need a cocktail umbrella. And of course, it's windy out there. Take your umbrella, put it through the orange peel, poke your cherry with it, and then put it through the other side of the orange peel, like so. And there it is, the Typhoon Sortie. Hull overall, hatch hoods, and gun covers. The weather decks are secured. Too many of these and you'll be walking like a sailor newly arrived on dry land. It's a little sweet, but I just remembered if you stir that rum in, Bob Saget. Ah, that's better. It is very sweet. I think in the future I'll use less Demerara syrup, maybe half an ounce instead of a full ounce. But really, this is quite a beverage. A Typhoon Sortie is something 7th Fleet sailors are all very familiar with. It looks like it's gonna rain. Better sortie! And then you get out there and nothing happens. So you're just left with, well, we're out here anyway, we might as well do some drills. It is a known fact that typhoons only occur on the weekends and federal holidays. This is the story of my first typhoon sortie into an actual typhoon. It was March 2007, and I was a bosun mate aboard the USS Gary. We had sortied a few times since I had been on board in October of 2006, but we never really encountered anything past a little gust of wind and a light drizzle. Boy, was I in for a treat. See, the SOP of USS Gary for typhoon avoidance was to sail directly into the typhoon. Now, I know that wasn't necessarily the actual procedure or doctrine, but it seemed like that every time there was an actual typhoon, we just go right into it. We plowed headlong into this particular angry patch of atmosphere, the ship bucking and pitching and yawing. Now, USS Gary was an Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate. It was only 450 feet long with a beam of 45 feet. Beam, that's width for all you landlubbers out there. And it weighed about 4,200 tons soaking wet. This was not a big ship. In fact, the Perrys were the smallest fleet combatants afloat before the LCSs came along. So in Sea State 8000, this tin can got tossed about the raging May. Sailors cope with these things in different ways. Some go to their racks and forget where they are, how they got there. Some go to the lowest deck on the ship and close their eyes and wish for home. Some go to the lifelines and offer Neptune, god of the sea, a sacred sacrifice of half-digested chicken cordon bleu. Still others, they take the opportunity to have some fun. And I was in the latter group. Some of my fellow BMs went up forward to the bosun locker, the forwardmost compartment on the ship. Because it was in the bow, the space was shaped like a triangle. And the overhead got higher and higher from aft to forward as the deck sloped up. Because of this, the overhead was like 15 to 20 feet high in the forward part of the space. Now, what these guys had figured out and were now dutifully imparting to me was that you could wait until just the right moment when the bow would crest the wave and begin its free fall back into the water. Jump, grab onto a pipe in the overhead, finding yourself hanging there with your feet a good 8 to 12 feet off the deck. Then you'd wait for the ship to climb up another wave and let go, and the deck would come meet you halfway. It was now my turn. I stepped up, waited for the ship to crest that wave, and I jumped. I have never jumped so high in my life, and I probably never will. And as I hung there waiting for the deck to come up to me, I thought about how accomplished I was. But see, then the ship never went back up a wave. See, it turns out as I was playing grab ass in the bosun's locker, the pilot house executed a starboard turn. So now basically the ship was just rocking side to side rather than up and down. I was stuck up there. Well, my shipmates thought this was pretty funny. I was just hanging there like some kind of inept orangutan, swaying like a wind-blown chime in the breeze. Finally, they brought me a ladder. And just as I went to get a foothold, I guess the pilot house executed a port turn, because that ladder came up and kissed me right in the face. Well, my fellow sailors thought this was the best entertainment they'd found since women found out they could make money by taking off their shirts. Of course, about 10 years later, I would revisit this memory with my painting Typhoon Sortie, which, as it happens, won second place in the National Veterans Creative Art Competition in 2017. Since then, I've done a few paintings of USS Gary. She was a fun ship with a tight-knit crew. Until next time, may the winds of fortune sail you. May you sail a gentle sea. May it always be the other guy who says this drink's on me.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, early in the morning. Putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, early in the morning. Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises.
It's a good thing this is almost the same color as my shirt. That's why I don't really like Boston Shakers. A Typhoon Sortie is something... Well, it felt like I had drank a bunch of these.